Thanks very much, Godfrey. So May the 10th brought another historic day in our country. For those of you who may not heard, we had a change of government. In fact, the Free National Movement won 35 of the 39 seats in government. And of course, we are very pleased to have on the show this morning, joining us, the first Vice President of the Torchbearers Youth Association, Mr. Carlisle Bethel, and he is joined by Council Representative of the Torchbearers Youth Association, Astra Ambrista Roll. So pleased to have these young people in studio this morning. I can say that now that I'm a little Lola. Welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So historic day last week, Wednesday, in our country. What do those results mean to you? The people have spoken, and they spoke very loudly, very clearly. What do you see from your perspective?
Well, personally, I think that the results of May 10th ushered in just about an entirely new era in our country. I think Bahamians will no longer stand for things that they perceive to be corrupt, things that they perceive that are not transparent. I think we've learned as a populace to stand up and speak loud, and I actually don't think that we'll see a Bahamian population that's going to wait another 5 years until they stand up and vote a government out. I think we've seen so many things transpire over the last 5 years that it's a brand new day in the country.
Both of you were very active during the campaign, of course. What was the feeling going into the elections, Carla?
I mean, the feeling going into the election, we had the opportunity to travel around the country, different islands, and straight across the country there was this uneasiness amongst people. They wanted this change. They wanted the government to change. They wanted a fresh government. But it was always like, I know what I'm going to do. I just hope the rest of the Bahamas will do the same thing. But it turns out that everybody was thinking the same thing. And so when you got into the polling booth and everyone went and voted, and when the results started to roll out, I mean, you saw us, even in Centerville, being a grandstand, what they considered, strongholds, those came falling down as well. And so, and then they built up under a new party. And so I think that the country as a whole is relieved, and they're looking forward to fresh governance, transparency, accountability.
But did you expect this? Did you expect the results the way that they came?
We expected a win. I expected a win.
Okay.
Yeah, no one could have imagined it would be like this, though.
Yeah, I expected a win as well, but I would say Dr. Minnis, I think on another show, he said, we're going to win all. Yeah. And he told us, he said the only reason he gave them those 4 seats is because he didn't want to appoint an opposition.
Oh, wow. Well, so what do you think really was the message? Was there a particular message that emanated from within the Free National Movement that the people connected with more than anything else? Or do you think it was just a rejection of the PLP government?
I think it was a little bit of both. When our party first came up with the theme, It's the People's Time, I think it happened at the most opportune time in our country. I think people were getting tired of the dumps burning. People were speaking out a lot more on social media. People were marching. There was so many different movements going on where people, for the first time in the history of the country that I know, have gotten out of their beds, out of their homes, and was a part of the change that they wanted to see. So I think that message, It's the People's Time, resonated resoundingly with the people.
We can say that our country is growing up. But even within the Free National Movement, you have Travis Robinson and James Albury, who are now both MP-elects in their 20s.
Yes.
What does this suggest a new trajectory for political service?
I mean, at least Dr. Minnis and the leadership of the party has committed themselves from day one to helping and including young people. Okay. And really ratifying and nominating these young candidates, not just Travis and James, but you have Adrian Gibson, you had Navarro Bowe. He was not successful, but at the same time they gave him the opportunity. Now we have 3 young people sitting at the highest table in our country, and so it shows a commitment to them. They'll be there when we discuss policy, when they're pushing things that are for young people, by young people, and that's what the country needs, man. 30% of the voting population was 1835, and you have to include them into the process, and the FNM has committed itself to doing just that.
I would imagine this makes the Torchbearers Association, Youth Torchbearers Association, very excited about this possibility.
Indeed.
I mean, has there been obviously constant contact with you? I mean, we would have seen your convention. What is the feeling within the association? I'll be very optimistic, I would imagine, for your participation in the governance, really, of our country going forward.
Absolutely. The Torchbearers have experienced almost the exact same swell in interest and in people wanting to get involved throughout the campaign. I think after the convention, things really geared up, and we saw our Facebook page, messages were coming through more than we've ever seen before. And even now that we've been successful in governance, there's so many people wanting to get involved. So it's a really exciting time for the Torchbearers, and we're looking forward to having the association take off in the next 5 years.
Talk about Facebook. I mean, obviously we have a different generation, and technology plays a major role in everything that we do. Was there any particular thing that jumped out at you relative to the use of technology and particularly the social mediums?
I think, well, what it does is it allows you to get your message across a lot easier,
instantly.
Right? Yeah, instantly.
Good or bad.
Good or bad, exactly. And you know, and I think that is a main reason why people were so upset, because, you know, with all this technology, with all these means of communications, we still don't know what's happening with our government. We still don't know what they're doing, or why they're not speaking to us or letting us know. And so it's so frustrating. And I'm sure that this new government, this Free National Movement government, will show the people what it is to be in constant communication with your government.
I would have heard some parts of Dr. Minnis's speech after the election victory. Very powerful words. You know, they've been repeated over and over, and indeed I will be surprised if they're not constantly referenced. What do you see going forward from him in particular as a leader?
I think that we're going to see exactly what we've been promised.
Okay.
I think he started out, when we first started our national campaign, saying that he's going to do certain things as soon as the FNM becomes the governing party. And he's done that. So far, he has not taken a ministerial position. So we see the deputy leader, Mr. Peter Turnquest, taking on Minister for Finance. I think as we roll out the different ministries, and as we roll out over the next 30, 60, 100 days, you'll see a lot of those things that we've campaigned on come true. And I think that we don't have very much room for error. So whether we like it or not,
patience from the people.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Whether we like it or not, we're going to have to live up to those promises.
You mentioned Peter Turnquest taking on the role as Minister of Finance, which is different. What do you see an FNM cabinet looking like? Do you anticipate more of those types of announcements?
I think that I think it will be similar to the slate that we ran. I think it's a mix of the wise and the seasoned and the young and the fresh, right? And I think that there will be a seat at the table for everybody. And that was the beautiful thing about the FNM, especially this time around with this group of candidates. Like she said, you know, having a Minister of Finance that's not the Prime Minister in itself is a big deal. That's something that wasn't done since Lyndon Pinley was the Minister of Tourism, right? So I think that Dr. Minnis is already doing things that are revolutionary in this country, and that's what we need.
I noticed you said the young and the fresh, and not the young and the restless. Astra, you know, what do you anticipate will be the first? You know, we always talk about these first 100 days, but obviously it's very important when you jump out of the gate. You know, the tone that you set. What do you see happening over the next 100 days or so in terms of important policy decisions, or what are the things that you think should be addressed first and foremost?
I think there's some really easy wins for the FNM over the next few days. Things like ensuring that there's only 2 terms for a Prime Minister, ensuring that there's fixed election dates, those types of things. I would hope we are able to organize ourselves into getting them done. Also, we talked a whole lot in this campaign about corruption and anti-corruption legislation. Those types of things are going to be interesting to see how we, again, organize ourselves in the next 100 days to actualize those things.
Carla, what do you think is still the mood of the people?
I think
just less than a week removed.
Yeah, I think there's a calm in the country right now. People ain't beeping you when you're on the light for 2 seconds. I think that right now there's a burden that has been lifted, like a sigh of relief almost. And it's and starting today, it's where to now? What are we going to do next? And I think people are very hopeful and optimistic about this government.
Well, definitely looking forward to seeing what's next. You know, we may not be young and fresh as you guys are anymore, but certainly we do have a level of hope for the country, because at the end of the day, you know, no matter what the colors were headed into the election, coming out of them, you know, we're still all Bahamian. I want to thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Bahamas at Sunrise. Looking forward to hearing more from you in the very near future.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Carla, thank you very much.
Thank you very
All
much.
right.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.